What is going on, Trash Talkers? We're back with another episode for you. In today's video, we're going to talk about ESPN's book, It's Better to Be Feared, a tell-all book about the New England Patriots and the inner workings of the franchise that you all love to hate. All that and much more coming your way right now! All right, Nick, our beloved New England Patriots are once again under siege, and this time by ESPN Senior Writer Seth Wickersham coming out with his book, It's Better to Be Feared. This book comes out in October, but a lot has leaked so far about what is going to be in there, and it talks about the massive breakup that we see between Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, Robert Kraft's role in it, and there's a lot of telling things in here. And obviously the book hasn't come out, so we haven't seen the content just yet. So this is going to be a part one. We're going to react a little bit to kind of what's been rumored to be in it and what Seth Wickersham has already said that he is brought in as a teaser, essentially. But with the Patriots and the Buccaneers going at it this week, I thought this was an ample time to discuss exactly what was going on. So, Nick, what were your initial reactions to hearing about this book and kind of what it entails?
Yeah, I mean, it pisses me off as a Patriots fan. You never want to hear anybody bad-mouthing your team, especially when you have a beloved head coach like Bill Belichick. You're going to protect that guy at all costs. That is the guy who has brought you so many championships, and you never want to hear anything bad about him, and especially when you understand what that culture is all about, and you hear about these outsiders trying to explain how things happen and, trying to discredit him because, Brady is still playing at an elite level. Bill Belichick will go down as the greatest head coach in NFL history. There is no question about that. I just don't understand why so many people are so upset with him that they're willing to just spread lies about this man and what he has done. Bill Belichick has been nothing short of an angel, honestly, for Patriots fans and Patriots franchise. He has been the savior who brought us back from the depths of hell before he came and brought us glorious moment after glorious moment. And between Patriots media, between New England media and ESPN and people that have played for Bill Belichick who didn't like his style, they just continue to just push him down and treat him like he is not one of the best of all time at what he does and try to figure out a way to say he did not do it fair and square. He cheated his way to the top, and that is just absolutely false and not the truth.
Feel like you were preaching at Sunday service. I mean, absolutely amen to that. But I think Bill Belichick has definitely done things his own way, and that's rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, specifically his dealings with the media and his dealings with the NFL and things that really have not gone according to plan. Anytime a media member, especially here in New England, asks him a question, he basically gives them the middle finger and says, "Don't ask me any more questions." So this would obviously lead to somebody who's just tired of that nonsense to go out and find as much as they can to bash this guy. As much as we love him as fans, there's a lot of people who dislike Bill Belichick and what he brings to the game of football. So everybody wants to say heavy as the crown, and it's easy to chop somebody down. Bill Belichick sits atop the NFL right now, and people are trying to chop him down from his throne. But I want to talk a little bit about this book and get into some of the details. So talking about what ESPN has already said, the book is based on hundreds of interviews with a range of sources, including previously confidential emails, texts, game plans, scouting reports, and internal New England studies, including one in which Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Tiger Woods, and Tom Brady were interviewed about personality traits that fueled their greatness. So there was some sort of interview with all of these fantastic, incredible generational talents that got together. They talked about their personality traits that would fuel exactly that. And apparently Brady and these guys had something to say. So I'm not exactly sure what that's going to be, but that is just a small portion of what had to go into this.
I think a big part of what needs to be known about this, Bill Belichick, Tom Brady, and Robert Kraft did not have any sort of input into this book. They stayed out of it. They did not want to be a part of it. And so you are getting third-hand knowledge from people who might be just telling what they think happened, not what they know happened. And I think that's everything you hear in this book, everything you read in this book needs to be taken with a grain of salt. You cannot just take it as fact. It is not going to ever be proven unless one of those three guys says that it actually happened. Some things we can infer from what we've seen in press conferences and what we've gotten from them in the past, but a lot of the big things that they're saying are the grab for this book. Things that they want to say are big things that you need to read this book for. You can't say that it happened. You got to just take it for what it is, and it's just words on a piece of paper. Bill Belichick, he's made a lot of questionable decisions, obviously, but it's come at the cost of 6 championships. And for Patriots fans, for myself, for you, Mike, I'm speaking on your behalf as well, we're willing to accept everything that we have sacrificed to get those championships because it was well worth it. And
Absolutely.
everything, and that's what it takes to be a part of winning culture. There's sacrifices to get to the top. And if you're not looking for competitive advantage, then you're not trying. And I think that we need to get behind Bill Belichick. We need to support him because he is one of the best of all time. We can't allow one of the greatest of all time to be brought down like he has been.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I want to get into the details and specific points that have been made, and I think this is a good one to start. So, Seth Wickersham writes that Robert Kraft, the owner of the Patriots, once called Belichick the, quote, biggest fucking asshole in my life. I'm going to say this straight out. He may have heard that from someone. Knowing Robert Kraft the way I do, that man did not even attempt to use that language to describe his current head coach. He did not attempt to belittle an employee of his by saying something like that. And obviously, Nick, you laid it out. Belichick, Kraft, and Brady stayed out of this. They did not get interviewed for this book. So this is somebody else talking on behalf of that. And at this point, I don't believe that to be true. I think that is definitely a falsehood that Wickersham was able to publish because there's no way to debate whether it was said or if it wasn't said. But I think that is a big tell. And people who want to look for something to hate about Belichick, they're going to point to this and say, look, even the owner doesn't like this guy.
Yeah, you can say anything you want, but like you said, Robert Kraft is one of the nicest people on the face of the earth, and especially when he's talking to essentially another son of his, Tom Brady, he's not going to belittle Bill Belichick. He'll never say anything bad about Bill Belichick because of everything Bill has done for Robert Kraft and his franchise. And so to hear somebody put those words in Robert Kraft's mouth, I hate you for it. I straight out hate you for it because Robert Kraft is one of the nicest people, one of the greatest owners, one of the biggest philanthropists we have seen in the NFL. And that is so far away from his character. I just don't know where somebody would get that from.
Yeah, I mean, some of the other points that they've made as well are Bill O'Brien told a colleague he tried to get fired as head coach of the Houston Texans because he thought he might be able to succeed Belichick in as the coach of the Patriots. Also, Bill Belichick and the NFL commissioner Roger Goodell had a much closer relationship than previously known and once met secretly in an airplane hangar in New England to discuss rule changes, even as aides of Goodell tried to get him to drop the Deflategate inquiries because they were worried about long-term damage to the league brand. They were still friends and still meeting. There's a lot of different things here. And again, it's a tell-all book, so it's going to be a smear job for somebody. But at the end of the day, Seth Wickersham, he's not going to just write these words unless somebody's willing to go on the record and talk about it. Obviously, Wickersham, being a senior writer, understands protecting his assets and the people that are giving him this information. So we're not going to even learn of their identities, let alone figure out what's being said by whom. And I believe at the end of the day, there's a lot here to unpack and to discuss. And it's all going to come with reading the book and understanding exactly what you're getting, and seeing if he can reveal any of the names that have come out so far.
Yeah, Seth Wickersham's really just looking to put his name in the spotlight because he may be a senior writer for ESPN, but let me know in the comments how many of you actually know who Seth Wickersham actually is. He's not a well-known a person. He's not a big analyst you see on TV. Everybody knows Adam Schefter, but you don't know who Seth Wickersham is. And he's just trying to put his name out there, trying to be in the spotlight for once in his career. And he's finding a way to do that by smearing Bill Belichick's name.
As much as, we disagree with a lot of what is said, I have to admit there are some things in here that make a lot of sense, and this is kind of one of them. The book says Brady was tired of taking team-friendly deals with no input into how the money saved was being spent, and still wanted a long-term contractual commitment. Belichick told his associates that every organizational decision now was in support of Brady, geared toward pleasing him and making him successful, and that Kraft meddled with the team, sometimes with opinions, sometimes with restricted budgets, meaning that everybody was placing blame on the other person, and Brady wanted a long contract with the Patriots through his age 45 season, which is his stated goal. And Belichick was simply not ready to give that long term commitment. As most of us who understand Bill Belichick know, he is ready to give up on a player a year too early rather than a year too late. So with Tom Brady, that makes a lot of sense. He's not going to give him the contract because in case Max Kellerman actually did show up to work one day and Tom Brady fell off of a cliff, then he wanted to be protected. He wanted the budget to be protected because in the NFL, you all know there's a salary cap. And if somebody's on the books for 3 more years and they're not performing at the level that you signed them to, then what are we doing here? Because then you're not competitive for those 3 years and you're handcuffed to a terrible deal. That's how a lot of these teams that you see at the bottom of the leaderboards, this is exactly how they got there. They were handcuffed to players that were underperforming from what their contract stipulated, and as a result, they are not competing in the NFL for years on end. That's what Bill Belichick wanted to avoid with the Patriots, and that's why he was able to maneuver this away from Brady on a long-term deal.
And I mean, the last thing I just want to mention is everybody wants to say, oh, Belichick gave up on Brady too early. Well, look at the Patriots roster even currently. Is this a roster that Tom Brady could even win with? I don't think so. When you look at the other teams in the NFL, the Buffalo Bills are one of the top teams, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Los Angeles Rams. These are all teams that would smear the Patriots from left to right with Tom Brady at the helm. So moving on from Tom Brady and letting him go to a team that's ready to win right away, like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I understand that. But getting rid of Tom Brady was the right decision because he was not going to have any further success in this system with this team. And so you can say he gave up all this potential, all of this greatness, but at the end of the day, he really didn't because Tom Brady doesn't have those same weapons in New England.
Yeah, and I think the last point that I want to make here is Bill Belichick, he was obviously irked at the fact that Robert Kraft stepped in and made him trade Jimmy Garoppolo instead of allowing him to move on from Brady or even trade Tom Brady at the time that he wanted to. So he took a lesser deal from the San Francisco 49ers to send Garoppolo to San Francisco instead of sending him to, Houston or wherever, which would have given up a first round draft pick or multiple first round draft picks, and instead took a second round draft pick and used it as a big FU to Robert Kraft and Tom Brady and saying, you're forcing my hand here and this is not what I wanted to do. So I know a lot of that has happened and that has been brought up multiple times in the past. Again, we're not hearing from Belichick. We're not hearing from Brady and we're not hearing from Kraft. So there's a lot of speculation here and a lot of conclusions being made without any sort of input from the parties that this is all about. So at the end of the day, this book is going to be very powerful with how much stock you put into the sources and everybody else that was able to give their input. But without Tom Brady, without Bill Belichick, and without Robert Kraft, I fail to see the merit in which this book is going to really be able to portray these guys. Because at the end of the day, I believe that the book is going to try to paint Tom Brady as a glorious human who has done nothing wrong. Robert Kraft, who's the old owner and can't stand his head coach, and Bill Belichick is the mean villain who everybody can dump their hate on, and that he's the driving force behind the Patriots' 20-year dynasty. I think that's where this book is going to try to focus its attention on, and I just don't agree with that at all. I think all three parties had different situations that they got to deal with in their own ways, and it led to this unsacrimonous divorce that we saw Tom Brady go to Tampa Bay. But at the end of the day, it's working out for Tom Brady, and the Patriots are on the rebuild. So this is just a smear job trying to divide the parties even more so.
Yeah, I think Seth Wickersham might even be scared that Bill Belichick is building another dynasty, and so he wants to try to tear it down before it gets built up. I can't stand when these tell-all books come out, because somebody's on the bad end of it, and unfortunately it's my beloved coach, one of the greatest coaches of all time, Bill Belichick. It just, he doesn't deserve to be treated this way.
Just a couple of points before we head out of here. I just want to talk about some of the findings that the book says that they have. At the 2008 league meetings, Belichick and then New York Jets head coach Eric Mangini nearly got into a fist fight after a dinner for the head coaches, where Julie Mangini, Eric's wife, bumped into Belichick, said hi, trying to ease the tension, and Belichick completely blew her off. When she told Eric what happened, he charged across the room and needed to be held back by other coaches instead of swinging at Belichick. And he said, "Hey, Bill, F you." You know, that's something that Seth Wickersham brought. He also talked about after Spygate and during United States Senator Arlen Specter's inquiry into whether the Patriots had videotaped the St. Louis Rams walk through practice before Super Bowl 36. Former Rams coach Mike Marks said he believed that New England had also videotaped the Rams practices during the week. "I'd like to hang Bill Belichick by the nuts," he told a confidant. There's so many more points here, and I'll put the link in the description below, but there's going to be a part 2 after we get to see what the book said and we get to read it for ourselves. We're going to break it down even more so, but this is what is expected to come out of this. It's going to be a smear job for the Patriots, so Patriots fans, hold on, because it's about to be a bumpy ride for a long while right now. On the other side of the coin, you know, Seth Wickersham, he gets a nice payday and gets his name out in the press for a little while. All right, well, I want to hear from you guys. Let us know what you think of this tell-all book. Let us know if you put any merit into what Seth Wickersham had to write. And let us know if you're interested in a part 2 here. All right, well, that'll be all for now. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell. We go live every single day. That'll be all. Peace and love.